Two of the world's most powerful diplomats sat face-to-face earlier on Thursday. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met on the sidelines of the G20 meeting in New Delhi. A US official says Blinken underscored US support for Ukraine during the roughly 10-minute meeting. In prepared remarks earlier, Blinken said the unprovoked invasion had marred the G20 meeting of foreign ministers. He called it an attack on the core principles of the United Nations Charter. CNN's Kylie Atwood joins us from the US State Department in Washington. Kylie, you've been speaking to your sources about what was discussed in that remarkable 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. So this was a meeting on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meeting in India, as you said. And there were essentially three things that the Secretary of State addressed with the Russian foreign minister. First was urging Russia to come back into compliance with New START. Of course, that's a single lasting arms control treaty between the U.S. and Russia that Russia suspended just earlier this year. Second, he urged Russia to release an American who is wrongfully detained in Russia. That's Paul Whelan. And third, as you were saying earlier there, he also reiterated U.S. support for Ukraine. This is the first time that these two men, the top diplomats from the U.S. and Russia, have met face-to-face and had a conversation since before Russia's invasion into Ukraine. They last met in early 2022. At that time, the Secretary of State warned Lavrov about the consequences that would occur if they did invade Ukraine. Obviously, they went ahead with that. And we do know that they had one conversation, at least, over the course of the last year, not in person, but by telephone. That was this summer when they were discussing negotiations to release Brittany Griner, who was American wrongfully detained in Russia at the time. But it's also significant, Max, that they've actually been in the same place at the same time over a number of times over the course of the last year. In Bali for another foreign ministers meeting at the United Nations. They've been in the same room. They haven't had discussions. So the fact that the Secretary of State approached the Russian foreign minister, according to a senior State Department official, is pretty significant because he clearly felt that there were messages that he wanted to portray in person.
OK, Kylie Atwood, thank you very much indeed for working your sources on that. Ukraine's military says it's still holding its ground in the city of Bakhmut, but admits it's getting increasingly difficult. Ukrainian officials report heavy fighting on the outskirts of the city, and they suggest Russian forces have advanced within the city itself. About 4,500 civilians remain in the city as Russian troops do close in. Ukraine also reports a series of Russian rocket attacks on a multi-story apartment building in the city of Zaporizhia. The attack killed at least 3 people. Emergency crews managed to rescue 9 people, including a pregnant woman. About 5 kilometers from Bakhmut is the town of Chasiv Yar. Many Ukrainians fled there to escape the fierce battles in Bakhmut. However, the military fears if Bakhmut falls, Chasiv Yar will be next. Alex Markart is there.
This is the road on the way to Bakhmut. Cars, military vehicles bombing up and down this road, going to and from the front. You see this armored vehicle right here with a V sign for victory. There are still some people here, not too many, but some of these hardy residents have stayed behind. This is the shop of Sivyush, who is here grilling meat. It's called Shashlik. He actually fled from Bakhmut 2 months ago and has opened up the shop selling basics like bananas, beetroot, and candles. There's another man who we just met, whose daughter is still in Bakhmut, one of the thousands of people there who have been asked to evacuate but are still in the city amid this incredible fighting. You can see that they put up wood there to protect those windows. So much destruction in this town. We were just farther in the center of town. It's called Chasiv Yar. This is one town over from Bakhmut, with a large group of people at a bus stop waiting for a water delivery that never came. Every few moments, you can hear explosions, the sound of what we believe to be outgoing artillery fire, Ukrainians firing at Russian positions. We spoke with an older woman named Valentina, who said that there is so much flying over their heads that she is scared all the time. that they are so close to the Russian positions. That's more outgoing artillery fire. They are so close to the Russian positions that they can walk there. We also spoke with some Ukrainian soldiers like these ones who man one of those artillery positions. They told us that there has been no order to pull back from Bakhmut, that they're fighting because if they give up Bakhmut, then this town, Chasiv Yar, this would be next. And that is what everyone is thinking now, that if Russia were to take Bakhmut, that they would have another foothold in this region from which to try to push farther into eastern Ukraine. Alex Marquardt, CNN in Chasiv Yar.